Hello, thank you so much for clicking on my video and giving me the time of day. I will get right to the point. This is my first video. I make crafting projects, I guess you could say, and I just feel like sharing them with you all, because why not? I'm not doing much during this time of the year, during this glorious year of 2020, and it sounded like a little bit of fun, so this video is going to show you a little project that I worked on in the beginning of the summer when I was staying with family to avoid the worst of the year in New York City, where I lived at the time. So I packed all my crafting supplies, but forgot to pack practical shoes to go to the middle of nowhere, rural countryside. So I ordered a little simple pair of flats and I just spruced them up a little bit, and I would like to show you how I did so. So if you're interested, please continue watching. And here are the shoes that I ordered for this video. They're fine. I mean, as you can see, they're just normal shoes and there's nothing wrong with them at all. I just thought that they could be sort of a fun starting point, almost like a blank canvas for painting, but this time it's for feet. And I wanted to create a more dramatic silhouette for the foot. And also, around the toe area, I knew I wanted to put in some fabric ruffles. So to do so, without going all the way up my foot, I needed to lower the toe line, I guess. I don't know if that's actually what it's called, but that's what I'm calling it. So here I am deciding where I want it. I sort of felt around for where my toes ended and just went with it. This was a very free-flowing, spur-of-the-moment project. I really had no grand plan. So I really hate breaking in new shoes, and I mean, I don't know anyone that actually enjoys that process. So I thought I could avoid it altogether by redesigning the fit on the foot, and after trying on the shoes and walking around a bit, it was obvious that the heel was the main area that I would have to break in, and it was super tight on the top portion of the heel, so I just decided to lower it, and I figured I may as well just lower it where the bow was fastened, just because there was some stitching and extra material there that I couldn't remove, and I didn't want it in the final piece. And for this part, I'm just using an X-Acto knife because I wanted to make sure I cut out all of the pieces in one piece, so then I could then use them as stencils for the next shoe. But I think scissors would work just as well. Just be careful. If you do try to do this, you don't even have to do this step. If you would, you know what, it would actually be a really good idea to make the stencils out of paper. That would be less dangerous. So, as I said earlier, I kept the scraps from the first shoe, flipped them over to then trace onto the second shoe to get the perfect mirrored design, which I feel like it didn't work perfectly, but it was good enough. And then I felt like I needed to seal the edges, so I just put some Mod Podge over the cut edges, which honestly, I don't think I needed to do this, and this was really not the right glue or whatever it could be to put on this, but honestly, it just made me feel like I did something productive, so I did it. I then took some measurements, and this one is finding the overall length of fabric that I would need to cut out for the trim to disguise this cut edge of the shoe. And then I measured the ball of the foot, that's where I'm measuring. And then I made a little guide of about 1/2 inch around, which it doesn't look like I'm making it 1/2 inch. I remember it being 1/2 inch. I don't know what I did. Anyway, I made a guide, the same measurement all the way around the shoe, to then make a line as a guide for my leather punch that you can see right here, which this leather punch was probably the most useful tool in this whole project. I don't think I would have been able to finish this project without it, as there would have been no way to get a needle through this material without these pre-made holes. And so then, here I am. I decided to use a black silk for my material, and I cut out a 21 inch by 4 inch strip of fabric to make into the edging for both of these shoes. And then to make it a bit more workable, because it was a very thin silk, I added a layer of fusible interfacing. And this one is an iron-on, so I just followed my directions and put a damp old dishcloth over top and ironed it. And it worked out really well. Just double checking to make sure I didn't miss any spots, and it ended up being really great. So then I folded the fabric in half to find the center line, and then cut it in half because I intended on making this strip for both shoes. So I just doubled the width for one shoe. Just figured I'd do both at the same time. And then I found the center line for each of them again, and then folded the cut edge towards the center line on both sides, just so, what is that called? Is that seam allowance or is that a hem? I don't know sewing terminology. Oh, and my boyfriend at the time brought me some little snacks. How cute. And he still brings me snacks, but now he's not my boyfriend, he's my fiance. So I have so many fun wedding projects in my head that I'm going to film, so look out for that. And this was the weirdest piece. This was for the toe ruffle, and I think I should have made it double-sided or at least lined with another fabric, because from a certain angle wearing the shoe you can still see this white interfacing. But oh well, I mean, now I know next time I make a shoe ruffle. Since I wasn't home and I was staying with family, I had to hand stitch everything, which was so annoying. But this was mostly going to be just supportive base fabric for the ruffle, so the stitches weren't going to be too noticeable at the end. And honestly, I just made these weird pieces by holding up the fabric with pinned-in ruffles to the shoe with my foot in it, and then I cut it out, and it ended up looking like a weird shape. And it was not very graceful, and I really just forced it into submission, as you can see here, how I'm pinning it. But honestly, I mean, it worked, so I'm not going to complain. So I decided to add a layer of black lace over the black silk ruffle to add some dimension and hide my hand stitching, because that really was not the most beautiful thing to look at. But once again, this project just really had no plan and sort of happened and turned out pretty well, considering that I just used what I packed with me. And at this point, I decided to make some straps for the shoes. Considering I lowered the back of the shoe so much, it didn't really want to stay on my feet. So I took the same black silk, used some fusible interfacing again, and made little rectangular tubes, and then just stitched them on. And then little Wednesday came to say hello. I had just some black velvet ribbon in my bag, and it ended up being the perfect width for going around the perimeter of the shoe. I cut out some smaller pieces to make bows and sealed the edges with a lighter. And then the last step was to attach some pearl buttons for the straps to button onto, which I seem to have lost the footage of making the buttonholes. So just know that I did make buttonholes, and that's why it works. Well, thank you so much if you've watched it all the way through to this point. I really appreciate it, and I hope you enjoyed and maybe got a little bit inspired to try your own shoe project. I had a lot of fun, and I certainly wear these shoes quite often, and I think that they really fit my style, and they're now one of my favorite pair of shoes, which honestly, just a basic pair of black ballet flats would have just been lost in the mix, and I feel like I really set them apart, and I have a connection with these shoes now, so they're great. But anyway, if you would leave a comment if you have any ideas, or if you'd like to follow me on Instagram and give me a DM there if you have any project ideas. I have a couple of more videos in the works at this current moment, so I will be sure to notify everyone on Instagram when that goes up, and subscribe if you care to do so. As I'm filming this right now, I have 0 subscribers, so I'm probably going to be in utter disbelief and shock when I see the numbers start going up. But I would really appreciate it if you do, because I find this whole thing to be a lot of fun, and it really means a lot that I can share my projects and crafts with everyone. So I hope you have a wonderful day, evening, night, whenever you are watching this, and I will see you next time.